Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle. I should be joined by Hall here very, very soon. But the title of tonight's episode is Wheelin and Dealin. And that's a fantastic title for this episode with the speedster himself, Mr. Anthony Armstrong, to kind of talk about the NFL draft. It was the night before the draft, Anthony. How are you doing?
I am doing good. I'm excited for the draft. It's every year the anticipation builds more and more. And shoot, man, now it's good to be in this selection at 29 and a GM that kind of knows how to dance around a bit. It could be really exciting tomorrow night.
Yeah, and so I wanted to ask you, because last time that we talked to you, you were of the mindset that they should be invested in the trading up in order to get, if there was somebody there in a reasonable way, right, to be able to go trade up to get somebody instead of trading back. Do you still feel that way?
There's so many ways it can go. I would really wouldn't be surprised if it happened. I think I tend to be a little bit more conservative, especially when you're sitting at 29, because somebody may be falling to where it gets really interesting where they're trying to trade up, and then you can get a little bit more draft capital, and then you start to treat the early second round as just an additional option, an additional first round pick. So it's a great way, to work that way. So I think you have to let it come to you.
I'm with you. I'm with it, man. Now I know your boy's in the car now, but what are your thoughts at pick 29? Let's say we can't move, we're staying put. Do you have a favorite right now?
I think the one that keeps popping around, I got to go play around and do some more mock drafts. I've been out of town. I want to go, 'cause you see so many, and it always seems to be that you're getting to decide, is it going to be a receiver? Is it going to be an edge? And I'm leaning towards receiver now. I
Okay.
think it feels like all those running backs may be gone, but then there's also maybe somebody that you can get a little bit later around because it's such a dynamic position. You can find a smaller school guy in a later round who may be able to add some splash, bring something to that running back room where you don't have to invest it in the first round. So yeah, man, I'm thinking receiver. I think a receiver may be where we end up going, not because it's what I did, but I think that's where it seems to make the most sense.
Yeah, so like speaking on that topic, is there any wide receiver in this draft that you could say that almost reminds you or is similar to your game?
Oh man, I think I'd have to go with them speedsters out of Texas. You know what I mean?
Isaiah Bond?
Yeah, Bond or Golden. Those guys. And then the off the field stuff that's different, but the speed, straight ahead stuff, that's something that looks good. But the game has changed so much now. I've just wondered, like, speed is going to translate everywhere, but just the way that the where they have to catch the passes now, so many more 50-50 balls. The game is different, man. So, I don't know. I think I'm 101.
I agree with you. I agree with you. What would you say are your favorites at wide receivers? Are there any guys' names that come to mind to say like you would love to be able to get your hands on them?
Man, I would love that McMillan cat, man.
Really?
He's obviously not going to make it to 29. He's one of those guys who has a whole bunch of raw talent,
Okay.
and he's put so much production on tape. And he's already said, I don't like to watch film. Now, can you imagine? He's going to get around Terry McLaurin. He's going to learn how to work. He's going to see what the expectation is. He's going to be able to grow so much more. And he already has these physical attributes, and he's been compared to Mike Evans. I remember when Mike Evans came out, I wrote a little write up on him. I'm like, he's like a power forward playing receiver.
Mm.
And with what Washington needs, having some height, having some size, somebody's going to get downfield, catch those big, 50-50 balls in that nature. I think he would fit that bill. Is he going to be at 29? No, he's not going to be there. That'd be a name where it's like, hey, jump up. If he start to tinker around a little bit, maybe they start to field some phone calls as long as it doesn't cost him too much.
Yeah, and I
He's a
think
favorite. He's a favorite. And then, obviously, Ohio State's been running with receivers.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you can get,
Amika
Young fella out
Buka.
of there. Yeah, I was gonna flip his name and have it wrong. Amika Abuka. Yes, get him because he's gonna be a crazy route runner. But I still think physically you need somebody that's gonna have some higher size.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Now let's say like if there was one position at 29, we don't know if we're going to be there tomorrow night. We could all stay up for the draft just to find out that they traded back, and a lot of people would be happy about that. Not so much so about with Anthony, but let's say if there is there one position that if they added at 29 that would surprise you besides
Defensive
quarterback,
tackle.
defensive tackle?
Defensive tackle. Yeah. I just feel like you need a more dynamic player that's going to show up at this position. I know you've signed a guy. You let John Allen go. You brought in Kinlaw, but to go back in that space, I feel like I would rather get another edge or something like that. Just somebody's going to be able to be a little bit more dynamic. Um, I don't know if there's a D tackle out there that's really going to be that dynamic and cause that much havoc. And you got to understand to work into this rotation. You get what I'm saying? So you're not
Yep.
getting a guy that's going to be on the field right away. You're getting a guy that's going to be inside of a rotation if you go D tackle.
Yeah, I'm with you there. What about O line? Well, how would you feel if they went O line? Like, there's Josh Connerly Jr. from Oregon, possibly there. There's the Ohio State tackles as well are a possibility. How would you feel? Or Tyler Booker from Alabama, the guard. How would you feel if they went
And
the trenches?
I'm thinking if you do like it's kind of the same thing. If you're picking it, who's in this first round, I need them to be on the field as a starter,
Yeah,
right? Or I need you to be on the field like 70% of snaps, something, right? Like a consistent contributor. I don't want to get a first round pick and then say, oh, this guy's developing into our future. No. You've made moves in the offseason. You brought in Larry Tunsil. You got Debo Samuel. You're making plays to set this thing up to hit on this rookie quarterback's contract and have success now. So any O lineman, if he's gonna come in here and improve what you got, okay, you can sell me that, but you got to make it happen. But I really think it's got to be another position.
I'm with you. Hall, I kind of asked about 29 and some wide receivers and just wide receiver based questions. Do you have a question for
Right.
Anthony?
Yeah, kind of just to piggyback off what you were saying about, and I agree how 29 has to be a contributor, someone that can step on the field right away, and like you said, at least be a rotational guy, 70% plus of the snaps, and be an effective guy on the field for you. And so with that being said, at 29, there's been a lot of smoke around teams really liking Trevion Henderson and him maybe going a little bit earlier than what's expected as the running back in a deep running back class. Would you be okay with them putting in a guy like or drafting a guy like Trevion Henderson at 29, even though it is a pretty rich running back draft class?
Oh, yeah, what's his normal grade? Like, what's he made it up to now?
I think a
Is it
lot
a
of people are
first
saying
round? Is
like
like a
early
second?
second, mid second, something like that.
Yeah,
So, but
see,
that's like the
um,
consensus. But teams are saying like like he might go sooner than a lot of people think, and da 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 da. There's been a lot of smoke around
I can
between us
I
and
like
Kansas
him
City
as
at
a
the
player.
back of the first round.
Yeah, I like him as a player. You know what I mean? I like him as a player. I hate that he wore Texas out like he did, but I like what he does, and I like what he would bring to the running back room. But um, do you see him starting right away? Maybe. I feel like it's going to be a battle. I like him as a player. I sure would like for you to fall back and let somebody get nosy about another player and then pick him up early in the second. Grab an extra pick in the second or third round for him. But I wouldn't be pissed off. I wouldn't flip a table or anything like that. I think it'd be a valuable pick, in a position where I do think you need to upgrade. Um, and it's not saying B Rob is bad. It's just that you got to have another something over there to help build and bolster this running back room that's quickly depleted.
Yeah, and would you have that same reaction that you had with the Hail Mary pass if they got Travion Henderson? That's the question.
Oh, I probably ain't gonna be running down the street. I would be running down the street if he made a power play and jumped up and got Ted McMillan or something like that. That'd
Yeah,
be the one. I'd be like, this dude is meaning business. Like, but seriously though, you gotta give. I could really see give Jaden another offensive weapon. You know what I mean? Like,
best
help open
defense is
this
a
thing
good
up a little bit
offense.
more. Yeah, he already is efficient with the ball, and it just that was the one thing. It's just if you would have had a consistent somebody else that you could go deep to a couple of times, and how big the dude is, man, it's gonna make those 50-50 balls be that much more, on you. It's gonna be more than 50-50, really.
Right. Now, to wrap this up, Anthony, only a couple more questions for you, but maybe not pertaining to you, but just overall as like a viewer of the NFL draft. Do you have a favorite draft memory?
Man, sure, I was actually telling the story about my draft memory back in 2005, laying in my college dorm room, watching the draft. And as the draft is starting, it was the Dolphins with the number one overall pick, and I get a phone call at that same time from a 954 number. I mean, I went D2. Now I'm like, ain't no damn way. Man, my friend was joking me, man. He was pranking me. So he's like, hey, we gonna pick you. But he was a little bit late. It was like pick 3 by the time he got to me. But I'm like, dude, that's cold blooded, bro. That's cold blooded. But my biggest memory of the draft, at least just coming up, is seeing that people's birth years get closer and closer to 83. And I was like, ooh, I'm up next, right? I'm coming up soon. And now these suckers are like born in like 2000 and stuff. So that's a whole different side of it.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, damn, I am that old. But I love the draft, man. You get to see people's dreams come true. You get to see, families change, lives change forever. But then, hey, they coming into a whole other league, and I'm excited for how they're gonna have to step up to those challenges.
Yeah, you'd love to see the awkward relationship. Things like CeeDee Lamb comes to mind. Laramie Tunsil's draft is another one. But the crazy thing you're talking
The
about
gas mask.
the crazy thing is you're talking about the birth years. When Dan Quinn was talking about on September 11th, that a lot of the guys like weren't like cognizant or around during September 11th, and you're like, dude, I'm getting old, man. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
But Anthony,
that is crazy to think about. Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
getting old, man. Now I know I asked you about your favorite wide receiver, but do you have, besides wide receiver, do you have draft favorites?
Man, I think if my favorite player, it'd be easy to say it. It's Travis Hunter, man. The dude is so damn special. And he could really determine, change the way some things happen if somebody gets really, really aggressive. But I'm excited to see where he lands and how he's going to be used. I haven't sat and watched like so many individual players, but I am loving decliner. Hang up on somebody. Like I haven't dug in and watched a whole bunch of individual, but you know what I am interested in though? I am interested in these tight ends. The tight end position is something where I think you can get a really good player like Mason Taylor out of LSU. If you're talking about favorites, I think
That's
he's
my
one of my
guy.
like.
Kyle hates him.
I put a little asterisk, I highlight it,
I'm
be like,
just
hey, if
joking.
that name comes up, I would not be mad. I'd be like, okay, cool. Because I mean, Ertz is getting older. Taylor has NFL pedigree. You saw him doing his drill. He got a little shimmy to him. Was he the one that was like perfect on the line in the combine
Yeah.
during the catching drill? Yeah. So like he understands the details that come with the position. And you put him behind Ertz, and it's not even like Senna is more of a developmental guy. He has to learn to play it more, and then he's going to grow into something. Or you kind of got to be Chris Cooley and do it all. But I think Mason Taylor coming in would be somebody that you can plug in at that second or third tight end spot, and he'll be able to shake some things up for you.
My man. Last question I have for you before I let you go about your day, of course. I know you got your kids waiting, but let's say Washington were to trade down from 29, Anthony. What is the furthest down you're willing to go? Like, let's say 45, right? Going from 29 to 45, like something like that. What would be your maximum limit of trading down?
Man, I feel like 45 was what jumped up in my head as the tippity top. I would love to stay probably within the first 10 to 12 in that second round, just because every year there's just one guy like Johnny Newton.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He sat around, first round talent, and just had a couple of flags that made people worried. And then when he finally got on the field, I think he's been pretty effective. He made some plays, so I'm excited to see what he does with a full off season being healthy. So yeah, don't go too far. I don't want you to get way back down and near 29 in the second round again. Like that's not an upgrade unless you really got a whole boatload of picks or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, so we gotta be like overprotective mothers, right? You don't go away from the house too far. Yeah, we need you to stay close.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
Anthony.
I can't see you too far.
Anthony, before you get out of here, I'd like to plug your show and your social media handle, brother.
Man, believe in Commanders. We're gonna be posting up for after the draft. Hopefully, there's a selection.
Hey.
And then at Rated Armstrong, that's my social media handles. Check me out for speaking engagements as well, man. I'm out here doing it all.
Yeah, the do it all Armstrong is what it is. And there's another wide receiver named Andrew Armstrong in this class. So make sure you watch him. This is probably going to be your
Sleeper
favorite.
from Arkansas, right?
Golly, people always thought me. Now, is that Andrew Armstrong? That is from Arkansas, isn't he? He
Yeah,
got some speed too.
from Arkansas, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, he gets my vote.
There
You
you
can
go.
pick him too.
My man. Anthony, have a great night, brother. Enjoy the
Appreciate
draft.
it.
All right.
Appreciate y'all.
All right, everybody. We just talked to the man. Always love talking to Anthony. It was last minute. Ken was going to join us for this episode, but he's feeling under the weather. So I hope Ken is feeling better now and he gets well rested and is able to get healthy here because nobody wants to be sick during the draft. But that being said, what's
Right,
up, man?
right. What it do?
I'm catching up on the Shannon Sharp stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah. I can't tell. I mean, just from the outside looking in, it just seems like they both into some freaky deaky stuff, and she's trying to kind of like shake him down, and he's like, I ain't going for it, and it's just a fact back and forth of people just be like, damn Shannon, damn Unc, but hey, it happened when you're famous, I guess.
Yeah, and my coworkers were talking about it yesterday, saying like something about a dog collar, and I was like, well, if, like really freaky about it, if it was one of those electric dog collars, then you're really talking about some crazy
Hey,
people.
that's some next level freaky deaky right there.
Absolutely, dude. Now, look, man, we're one night away from draft night. I'm not sure if I'm going to stay up for it, to be honest with you, because at this point, like I don't know what's going to happen at 29. I'd be willing to bet that we're going to trade down. Like my latest mock that I did it on the NFL draft database by the NFL.com, and that had the Saints trading up with me, and they gave us a crap load of picks because the Saints are one of those teams. The Bills are another one that have a bunch of picks, especially in the middle rounds, and that's where like you really feel excited about it, right? And the Saints are somebody that I honestly believe could go with like an offensive weapon or an edge rush or something like that in that first early, and then try to get back in for a quarterback, which wouldn't be insane to me personally. So right now, what is your odds going bet favorite for 29? But no trade back, straight up 29.
No trade back. I would say that I could see them going. So I think I think a lot of people have been mocking Shamar Stewart, and a lot of people have been mocking Donovan as a Roku. I think that they shake it up, and it's somebody that we don't even see coming. Someone like a Trey Amos, a Hairston out of Kentucky, like the cornerback position. I think they address the cornerback position, or the best case scenario is, which I wanted two things. I want to see Shador Sanders go to Pittsburgh because I think that's the perfect fit for him and
Yes,
for
it
the
is.
Steelers.
It is.
Also, twofold. I've been talking shit to Gavin this entire time about. He's like, "Oh, we're getting a quarterback next year because I got like 12 picks next year, something crazy next year, with all the comp picks that are going to be factored in next year, and the draft is in Pittsburgh." So he's like, "We're loading up to take a quarterback next year." Da 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 da. And I'm like, "Bro, you're drafting a quarterback this year. I'm telling you right now." So it's also twofold. I want them to draft a quarterback this year so I can be like, I told you. But yeah, but the best case scenario is that they don't take Shador at 21, and then all of a sudden he kind of drops into like free fall situation. And then the best case scenario is a team like the Giants, a team like the Saints, a team like the Browns come back up to 29 in their first round with us, make a trade. We get a couple picks, hopefully a third round pick, maybe probably a fourth round pick as well. And Yeah, we're still picking in the top 5, 7, 8 picks in the second round, and we get the extra picks, and that'll be the best case scenario. But yeah, I think that like I said, I think they go cornerback or like not defensive. I think like cornerback or like some type of offensive lineman, whether it be interior or offensive tackle. Just because, like I said, I think the way the board is going to shake out, the edge rusher that they want, the value is not going to be there exactly. So they're just going to go best player available at a maybe possible position of need.
Yeah, I know that Matt Miller
Excuse me.
echoed those similar sentiments, saying that a lot of teams need edge players, and so those edges are going to be like very well could be the point. Could be the point, but it's also the same guy who said Sam Howell did not have an arm, a strong arm, that is. But look, for me at 29, I think it's Mike Green. If Mike Green falls to you take it and you run home. That's my personal opinion. Now, we've heard the other names. We could talk about those. Maxwell Hairston makes my hair stand up. No pun on that one intended. But like when we watched him, Matthew Golden absolutely destroyed him. And like it was like almost it was a hype video for Matthew Golden, and it was like all against Maxwell Hairston. It was like, what is going on here? I know that he makes the play on the ball. He's a combine warrior. But the Hairston thing, I know John Keim in his latest episode talked about Hairston is really
And that's
like
the only reason why I threw the name Harrison in there is because he wouldn't just do that just because he's like, I don't know, I'm just throwing a dart at the board. Dart at the board. It's because not like what he's hearing, but it's like more of like a how do you can say it constructed opinion
okay.
on what he's been hearing around the building. I guess you could call it that.
Yeah, and I could also see that as groundwork for saying because the only reason a team would be willing to come up to 29 and give you a hefty amount of picks is if they have to talk you off of it, right? Because if you're put that out there like, oh yeah, we really want this guy Maxwell Hairston, we really want him at 29. When it comes to 29 and he's there, you're going to be like, well, I don't really want to move out of this, and it turns into that kind of not interrogation. What am I trying to think of? My mind's all over the place right now. But basically, you're arguing about the price, right? And that's where, like, if you have the fundamental to say, I don't want to move out of here. Negotiation, yes. I don't want to move out of here. That's how you could kind of pump up that number, right? Because, like, that's what everyone said to me. What the Saints offered you is unrealistic. They wouldn't offer that. But, like, do you 100% know that? Because it also brings in the question if there's going to be other teams willing to move up with you. And then it turns into that bargaining aspect of having to choose between, and somebody might have to offer more. But it would be amazing if the Saints traded up with us and gave us like the picks that we traded for Marshall and Lattimore if they just gave them back. You know what I mean? Like how genius Adam Peters would be looked at if that actually happened would be amazing.
That'd be crazy.
I know the Commanders put it out yesterday on Twitter asking who the pick at 29 is going to be. I put in there Donovan Ezeuruku, just because I think that he's a guy that could be there just based on the size of falling in that range. But also he's somebody that could be one of those wild cards that gets taken in the early 20s, maybe high teens, and that we weren't really expecting. We're sitting there going, man, he's gone already. I was not expecting that. Josh Carnley Jr. is another guy at offensive tackle who I've watched for a while now. Your prototypical kind of tackle, very good at pulls and being able to get out wide. So I think that he's somebody that could transition to guard very well. If you don't want him at right tackle, of course, I love the idea of having Brandon Coleman at guard. I get to dunk on a lot of people if that's the case. Tyler Booker is another one from Alabama. Got to watch him. He's very similar to Josh Connerly, where he is very smart and constructive in the blocks that he does. It's not like he's going to be in trouble, right? It's not like he's blowing his assignment. He's somebody who's very on par, does what he's supposed to do. He's not going to blow you away with these amazing highlights or running people over, but he is going to do his job. And just like Josh Connerly, he's very good at pulling, especially at Alabama with Jalen Milroe, where Alabama had a similar kind of offense where they had a lot of designed run quarterback plays. And Tyler Booker and C.J. Dippre were both used a heck of a whole lot in being able to be that outside blocking in the perimeter. And so I think that that's somebody you would absolutely love. It's just I really don't like Maxwell Hairston, to be honest with you. But look,
yeah, I would be kind of upset with that pick, but yeah, like I said, I'm just throwing it out there because of like the point you made, where I do think a lot of the edge rushers that have been falling and getting mocked to Washington are going to go earlier. Than I think it'll be like one of those type of runs on DNs where they go 2-3 DNs in like a 4, 5, 6 pick span. Next thing you know, you're kind of sitting there like, okay, we targeted this group of guys right here. They were just already taken. We got these next group of guys, but we got nobody trying to call us to trade up right now. We got to kind of go just best player available out of our group of guys that are still left. So,
Man, I got a bone to pick with you. You said I hate Mason Taylor. I don't hate
I was
Mason
joking.
Taylor.
I know you're just saying about at 29 or 61.
Like in that second round range. Like, and that's my whole point, like in saying that you really have to match the value, because is he going to be an immediate contributor with the room that they do have? Because you know that John Bates is not coming off the field, especially in blocking situations. No reason to do that. And Mason Taylor's not taking him over in blocking situations. I'll tell you that right now, just based off what I saw. Look, very structurally sound, does well. But when it comes to the fundamental one-on-one, I really don't think that he's somebody you can rely on. But, like, I understand and I get, like, with that jump ball that he has, I think it was against Alabama, it was absolutely beautiful. And obviously you'd feel really good about Mason Taylor. I don't hate him, but you did a good job defending me there. But it brings up Lance Newmark. Lance Newmark actually echoed what you just said earlier about you have to be prepared for every scenario. And that's one reason why they brought in Jahdae Barron for a visit. And he was able to go to Top Golf with somebody like Caleb Johnson. And like I said this on the pod the other day, I would run up naked for Jahdae Barron. And like, not to him, but I'm saying to run the card up to draft him. Good thing Reed's not here. But like, that's somebody I would absolutely love to bring in here and to add to the room. And that's where like I'm looking at it saying, if it's going to be corner, it's somebody like that. You know what I mean? I'm not a huge fan of Will Johnson. We kind of got into it on a previous pod, kind of talking about his tackling issues, getting run over by Marks from USC. And that's something that concerns me, because we saw that with Emmanuel Forbes. If you can't tackle well, this staff is going to kind of look at you sideways a little bit. And obviously, Emmanuel Forbes had way bigger issues than that. But just putting the caveat in there. But at 29, I love Donovan Ezeriku. I think if Mike Green is there, you don't trade back. I don't expect Mike Green to be there.
Oh yeah, then you better run the cart up, like you said. You better do cartwheels naked up to that thing.
Yeah, because like I'm telling you, there was only a handful of guys that you could say. I would say even less than a handful that could replicate what Minka does and what this staff would be able to utilize them with. Like Nick Scorton at 240, 250 pounds could do that based off what I saw, what he did at Purdue in 2023. Very similar in that sense. Mike Green is another one of those guys that could, like, literally, that you could utilize that 100% day one all over the field, either interior rush, exterior rush. Use them on not pulls. Oh my gosh, stunt plays. He'd be perfect for that, and very fast, physical, and he has a good pass rush repertoire at the moment. So that's somebody that right now I'm circling. But I said this the other day, I would not poo-poo with adding in the trenches with the first overall pick. I think that's a smart way to go about it, especially if you're trying to beat Philadelphia. Now, let's get into our fan questions to wrap up this show, Mr. Hall. This question from Peter Schrager. Peter Schrager. From the Colonel.
I was like, whoa. I was like, dog, you just randomly glossed over that Peter Schrager just gave us a burger? Like, what? I don't know.
No. Peter Schrager and Dan Jeremiah are considered to be two pundits with unique insight into the draft. So imagine my concern when Schrager's final mock before tomorrow night's draft has us selecting Shamar Stewart at 29. Upside is his freakish RAS score. Downside is a lack of production in college. Does that sound a little like a first-round mistake named Jamin Davis?
Yeah. If you're looking at, so I guess it's twofold for me, I guess. If you're looking at the traits and the potential and kind of like what Anthony was just talking about earlier, where this is a guy that he doesn't have to step in and be the every down guy right away. He can be a rotational 70% of the snaps kind of guy. You can bring him along as you develop him as a pass rusher while he still adds the value of a great run stopper, great edge setter, great defender on the edge. So I could see the thought process behind that. I'm going to trust this coaching staff because, again, I'm on the wave of I'm going to trust them until they give me a reason not to. I'm going to trust them to coach him up and get the most out of him like they've done the year past with guys that we thought were just throwaways or just kind of guys that were – I don't want to say throwaways, but, kind of guys that were just dead man walking as far as like, oh, they're Ron guys, so they're not going to be contributors. or they're guys that are too old, or they're guys that are over the hill, blah, blah, whatever it may be. We saw what they did with those guys last year. So if they think that, hey, we can coach up Stewart, we can use him when needed, and then develop the pass rushing skills, and then year 2, 3, 4, 5 down the line, he'll be our guy at the defensive ends, like our next contract defensive end, edge of the next couple years guy. But that being said, I could definitely see people's, I guess, reservations with it because of the lack of production with that size, that skill, that freakishness to go along with you. It's kind of like it gives me I said this on Twitter. It gives me kind of the post ACL Chase Young kind of vibes with the way higher motor, where it's like you have the potential to be that dude, but you just got to develop. And well, Chase Young didn't have like the motor, whatever, but you have the potential to be that dude, but you just got to put it all together. But while you're putting it all together, hey, be a great run stopper, a great edge defender, and help us against the run. My thing at 29 is, like I said, I would rather have, if the person's available, a guy that's going to get you 8 to 10 plus sacks in his rookie year, also while being able to develop in the run game and set the edge and be that dude. That's going to be more than a 70% of the snaps type of guy. So that's my kind of take on that.
I can understand what the Colonel is saying. Is it Jamin Davis like? I can understand that, and from a bird's eye view, you could say maybe that's similar, but it's very two different situations. Whereas Nick's with Shamar Stewart at Texas A&M, they were asking him to purely stop the run. That's what a lot of their defensive ends were based on, is stopping the run. We know that from Nick Scorton, from his lack of production in 24 and sack production to 23 at Purdue, where he put up 10. It has to do with adding of the weight, and that's where Shamar Stewart is. The RAS score is definitely there. With your comment about Shamar Stewart and having to develop him, I do disagree with, because I think with Shamar Stewart, you're getting what you're getting. And you're getting a dominant edge defender, probably the best in the class has to offer, and being able to set edges. Do I think that's not really comparable to Jamin, because Jamin was a one-hit wonder, right? A lack of starting experience at Kentucky. He didn't start until his last season that he did get drafted in, whereas Shamar Stewart has started a lot of games and played in a lot of games, and it's just not what he was asked to do with getting after the quarterback. And obviously that it draws the concern. But point being is, with Jamin, there wasn't something that you looked at to say, this is what he does really well coming out his rookie year. It wasn't until we saw a little bit of him at the pros that you were going to say, he should probably play at edge. Just to make the game simpler for him thinking too much, it's causing him to hesitate and let runs go by him and not play very well. With Shamar, it's very different, to where you know exactly what he does well. You could implement him day one and asking him to do that, but you can't expect to develop him in pass rush, because it's going to be a difficult task, and that's something that you're going to have to work for years at. So I think that this staff is much more geared to what your strengths are and putting an uptick on it. And one thing about Shamar is, yes, he has a lack of production in the sack category, but he's very good at pressuring. He does a good job of just being chaotic and causing a lot of dysfunction. He doesn't get like a self kind of stat for it, but he's somebody that does crush the pocket, does a good job setting the edge. And with that being said, like, I think that is very different from Jamin Davis with Shamar Stewart. I think that from the bird's eye view, does look that way, but ultimately when you look at the data, what you have on film is drastically different from Jamin, in my personal opinion.
How would you feel about that at 29? Him at 29?
Shamar, I'd be kind of let down. I like him a lot.
That's my only point. That's my only point, is where it's like, he'll be definitely valuable to the defense. Like you said, they're going to coach him up and they're going to play to his strengths, and they're going to get the most out of him at what he does best. But like you said, at 29, I want a guy that's also going to get after the passer, that has a little bit more polished.
And what I mean,
step on the field now.
And what I mean by let down is, I believe that having a player like Minka force the ball out of the quarterback's hands early with an inaccurate ball so the DBs can make a play on the ball. I don't believe, personally, that Shamar Stewart day one is going to be able to do that for you off the edge. It's going to take time. And right now, Washington does not have an edge rusher that can replicate that. And of course, their defense can change. I 100% agree with it. But I also understand that Joe Witt covets turnovers, and you can't purely depend on forcing fumbles in order to generate those turnovers. You have to game plan and be able to produce those turnovers.
Got to get pressures
in some sort of way. I have a lot of respect for what we have on the roster, but are we really confident that those guys are going to be the speed rush that you need to be able to force that quarterback into that bad throw? And that's why I would be let down, is because that's what I'm wanting to see. And of course, I don't know anything. I'm just an idiot with a dumb hat and on a podcast. I'm just saying that's what I personally want to see. Now, the next question, let's go to our Discord for this. And the boys have been going crazy. Obviously, Andy Lockhart and Scott Hartley are at the draft.
I was going to ask, do we know what pick Scott's going to be making?
No, I'm sure they haven't told him either, because they're probably planning on doing something, right?
I guess, yeah. So they're going to be like, hey, whatever draft picks we pick up along the way will be, you can announce one of them.
Yeah, and they don't want to give him what draft, because it could literally just vanish.
They can trade out of that pick.
And then he's like, huh? You know, his Tim Allen impression. Now, let's go. A lot of respect. Scott Hartley, look out for him making one of the draft picks. Don't know where it's going to be. Obviously, we just talked about it. But from the 1 Point Safety Show, make sure you like and subscribe to their podcast.
Boy.
Both hosts, Andy Lockhart and Scott Hartley, are out there in Green Bay, in Wisconsin, for the draft. And so, God bless those boys. Hopefully, they are able to fly home safe. I know they traveled safely. But the first question we have in the Discord hall, this is from Deluxe. Is the team on paper better today than it was close to the season? And will there be more offensive or defensive players picked by Washington in the draft?
I would say yes, they are better. I'd say yes, they're better than they were to finish out the season. You get an upgraded left tackle. Obviously, you're bringing a guy like Debo, who we'll see. We're getting a motivated Debo. We know that. We'll see if he can stay healthy. If he stays healthy, I think he'll be a big contributor for this team. They bought in some guys in free agency that are not like big name, like gonna blow your socks off guys, but they're steady Eddie guys. They're valuable guys. They're guys that are gonna be contributors, and they're gonna like kind of like last year. They're guys that we have a role for you, and we're gonna just beat that role into you as far as like we're gonna get the most out of
Saturday. Yeah,
right, exactly. We're gonna go Reed style and just beat it into you, beat you into submission. But no, they're gonna get the most out of those players as far as like what they do best, like Jones, Wise, guys like that are again not like blow your socks off guys, but they have a plan for those guys, and we saw what they did last year with guys. But as far as like executing that plan, so I do think that they are better, and they've added depth in places as far as like offensive line. A lot of people said we need to get better in the trenches. We get more depth in the trenches. We did that in free agency as well. So, yeah, I would say that they are definitely better than they were to end the season last year. As far as – what was the second part of the question again?
Will there be more offensive or defensive players?
Offensive or defensive players, yeah. I'll probably say defensive players just because it's a more of like a heavier defensive draft, I want to say, as far as like defensive line, secondary, and whatnot. Those are the kind of the deeper positions compared to – what it's been in the past, where wide receiver has been a really deep position, stuff like that. Quarterbacks obviously was deep position last year, but yeah, I think it'll be more defensive guys, and but like I don't think it'll be like drastically crazy or nothing like that. But I do think it'll be, if they only have 5 picks now, let's call it 3-2 as far as defense and offense.
Yeah, I agree with you. I in my heart, I would want this Deluxe to be more defensive players, but I also understand and realize that the offensive line is going to be a necessity, right? You know, the running back class is it's abundantly clear that there's a crazy amount of good, talented guys here. It's just more about like, what is your concoction? What is your recipe? What do you like? What is your car manufacturer? What type? Do you want SUV? Do you want sports car? What are you looking for? Defensive tackle is another one of those where the class is really good and a plethora of them. The safety class is not. Linebacker, similar in that kind of breadth. And then corner is one of those that could be that top-heavy aspect to it. I would say around the 4th round is when it drastically drops, right? I will say it's defensive. That's going to be more so. And I think that when you look at the assets allocated between the two, I think it's very evident that through free agency, through trades, That's where a lot of the force was applied to. And I think the defense is where you're going to give the kind of seesaw effect where offense got heavy in free agency and trade. Defense, I guess you could say Javon Kinlaw was, and they added other ones. But you're talking about the splash, the big dip in the seesaw, possibly is going to happen through the draft. And so that's what I would personally go with. And is the team better than at season's end? I only have one. I'll answer with a question for you, Deluxe. Is Benjamin St. Juste still on this football team? And that's no. And so
Do you think Jaden Daniels will be better going into year 2? And if that's the case, then the team will automatically should be better.
But to be honest with you, they added Laramie Tunsil. They added Debo Samuel. Just those two names together will tell you exactly what you need to know. They retained the guys that they needed to retain. They brought back Noah Egbenogany, right? They brought back Noah Brown, the Hail Mary King. They brought in Michael Gallup, KJ Osborne. Obviously, they lost to Ami Brown. You could say it's a little bit of a tick off the speed, right? But adding Debo, I think, overdoes that speed element and overall. So, yes, without a doubt, they are a better team today than they were at season's end. And I think they learned a lot about the team, and that's how they generated it. So as much as you want to say the defensive players added or kind of middle of the pack, maybe not wow names, but they added guys they really feel strongly about, can be able to implement what they are trying to do. Now the next question, this is from Tim Towner. This week, I brought up taking Luther Burden at 29 and was soundly discouraged from wanting that selection. So instead of asking who you would pick at 29, let's flip it and ask who you would absolutely not want us to pick at 29.
Like we said earlier, Hairston. I would be a little meh on the pick at Hairston at 29. Like we talked about a little bit ago, Shamar Stewart. I wouldn't be like jumping for joy if they got him at 29.
Is that your baby back there?
Yeah, she's going crazy. Yeah, those are the only two that jump in my head right now. I mean, as far as like a sexy pick, if it's like an offensive lineman or like a defensive lineman and like a D tackle, like I'm not gonna be like, yeah, whoo, like jumping for joy, but I'll understand the vision of like you're getting better in the trenches because obviously you got to win in the trenches before you go anywhere. So, but yeah, I mean, really those are two names. Those are really the only two names that I'd really be like, and then obviously if they reach for a guy like Scorton at 29 or
it's not really a reach.
Maybe
But
not, depending on how the board.
You have to remember, a lot of these mock draft databases, these big boards and everything like that, what we don't know is if agents are influencing them out.
Yeah, of course. And you don't know how the interviews go, how teams actually view them and how their board goes and stuff like that.
There's a lot of subterfuge being pushed
And
out.
I would say that it wouldn't be a reach only because you're not going to be able to pick again because I don't see them trading up from 61 to get, you know what I'm saying, anything. So at that point, I don't think, like you said, I guess it wouldn't be a reach, but because you don't pick again until 61 and he's not going to be there at 61. So I could see that. But yeah, I mean, I would be more excited for Scorton than I would be for Stewart. I'll say that.
I agree with you, especially since we've heard that he is coming down from that 280 pounds, that he's going back to what his Purdue weight was, where he had 10 double-digit sacks, 10. Obviously, PFF doesn't give him the full 10 for 23, but...
I will say, Ben Standig did his mock, and he's like the crazy like mock king, draft king, like mock draft king for the last like 5 years straight. Like, he's nailed like 60-70% of the picks, something crazy like that. But... in his draft, he did have us taking Scorton, and in his description of it, it was like blah blah blah. But one thing that stuck out to me was he's heard that not just from people inside the building, but around the league, that people are a lot more higher on him than what the outside kind of view of him is. So I can see that at 29 as well.
Well, that's why I said he's not a reach.
Right.
I think that he's somebody you're getting the combination of the setting the edge and also the pass rush ability, and that's what he showed at Purdue was absolutely phenomenal. So I would not be mad at that. I talked about it before, just purely because OG would rub it in my face if he took James Pierce at 29. Not that I would hate the idea of James Pierce, but just that OG would rub it in my face. But also his lack of being able to get after the quarterback. I've been on record as saying Will Johnson from Michigan, especially with that tackling ability. Maxwell Hairston is another one. But I wouldn't really, at this point, I'm not one to question. That's why I said in the last pod, I'm kind of worried about this draft because if it goes a certain way that I don't think it's like that I'm not anticipating, then I really have to dial things back and be like rethink my thinking on how I'm seeing things. And that's what my big concern is. So I would say those ones because I have been so adamant. I'm not going to sit here and say somebody else or whatever have you. And look, Nikki Minwari, if they went down that route, I would totally understand. I would totally get it. I would probably get dunked on, which is fine. I don't mind being wrong. That's another one where I would go, oh, okay. Like, I would get it. I would understand because I've said safety many times, but it's just one of those like, oh, man, I got to bite my tongue on this. Now, the next question that we have, Hall, this is from Big Tony Shivers. Talk about one or two of your favorite prospects not from a power conference school.
The dude from Central Arkansas, his name is escaping me right now.
David Walker.
David Walker. Thank you, sir.
He was graded as the #1 overall D end from PFF.
Yeah, that's definitely a name that obviously stood out to me because of the school that he came from. Then you start looking at like the numbers, some stuff that you can like clips and like film or whatever you can find on him, the Senior Bowl stuff, and you're like, okay, this is a name. This is a guy that I could definitely see some potential in it. I could definitely see the staff investing in him and maximizing his potential as well. So I'll say David Walker.
David Walker is a good one. Howard Cross is another guy from William and Mary. Big dude, of course. It's hard for me, Tony, because like I rely on these YouTube guys uploading TV film from broadcasted games. So the smaller school prospects, I have a very hard time being able to see anything on. The only one I was able to watch on was like Mike Green at Marshall when they win against Ohio State, simply because they went against Ohio State. So I was able to watch him. So I'll say Mike Green is my favorite prospect because would that be considered a power comp? I don't think so. That's one.
I think they're like group of 5, so they're not like a power school, Power 5 school.
Well, I mean, he said conference, right? I don't know what that is. Okay.
Look, all these teams are switching conferences left and right nowadays. So I think they're in the like American or something like that conference, but they could be in a whole different conference now. So
my other answer, I'll say to piss off Ken Johansson is Jonas Sanker, the safety from Virginia. That's a non-power conference school. I'm just kidding, man. But yeah, I would say Mike Green, without a doubt. And David Walker is a great plug by you, of course. You could go down. I haven't been able to watch any of the Delaware running back, Marcus Yearns.
I've heard some pretty good things about him.
Yeah, late round prospect. Obviously, another brick into the wall of this running back class is absolutely stacked. But that's another guy. One of the last questions that was submitted was from Deluxe. How overboard did the UK guys go with packing warm clothes for Green Bay? Bonus question, do any of the clothes have battery-powered heat?
I don't know. Isn't it like always like bad weather over like where they live at? Like I always like think of like when they're like the UK guy. I always like whenever I think of the UK, I think of cloudy, rainy, just like depressing, like not depressing looking, but like gray skies, just cloudy, rainy. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Just crapping on the UK, boy.
No. That's how they always portrayed in like movies. Every time you see a movie or TV show, it's always like cloudy and like gray skies or rainy.
But yes, you're right. It's an island, so it gets a lot of weather.
But yeah, I don't know. What are we like in April right now? I don't know. Is the weather in Wisconsin? Like, I don't even know what the weather in Wisconsin is right now in April, but I'm going to assume it's probably like regular spring weather, which we don't have around here. It's like freaking 80 degrees up here right now. But so I'm going to probably assume it's probably like in the 50s or so. So that's like nice hoodie weather to me.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just similar to ours. Obviously, up more north, it's probably a little bit more of a crisp breeze coming through up there. I'm sure it's raining corn up in Wisconsin. And also beer. I'm sure it's pouring down beer, especially with
beers and brats.
Yeah, Miller Lite and everything being produced up there. I'm really happy for those boys, man. To be honest with you, I really do love them, and I hope they have a fantastic time. And I know Scott Hartley's got to be nervous about making the pick, but he shouldn't be. Just go up there and do your thing, man, and represent us well, of course.
Make a sick dad joke.
The only thing I ask of Scott is that he doesn't do one of those like 5-minute rambles when the draft. You know, like I've seen it before. Like, just, go up there, say your thing, make
Drop
everybody
a sick
laugh.
one-liner dad joke and just like
Yeah,
make the pick and mic drop it and walk off.
make everybody laugh, but then hightail it out of there. You know what I'm saying? Any last minute questions that you want to talk about? Anything come to mind before we get into draft night? And obviously, our next episode is going to be on Sunday night, so we're going to be able to recap the entire draft. I wish I could say that we could be able to record Thursday night. Coincidentally, my birthday's on Sunday. It's gotten to the point where like it just creeps up on you, and you're almost like worried about your birthday because then you're just adding another number, and you don't like you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Trust me. But
You got,
now, as far as draft goes, like I said, I have faith that they've done their due diligence on all these guys. I have faith in the scouting department. I have faith in Adam Peters and Lance Newmark and these guys that they're gonna, if they get the trade calls, they're gonna make the best trade possible. And depending on how the board checks out, I think that they're gonna make the best pick possible. And like I said before, until they give me a reason not to, I'm gonna trust the vision of whatever their vision is. And if whatever pick they choose, whatever they decide at 29, whether it be the trenches on either side of the ball, cornerback or edge, or maybe they even go wide receiver. Maybe a guy like Matthew Golden drops at the end of the first round. Maybe they go Trevion Henderson. I don't know, but whatever it is, I'm gonna be excited either way because I know that Adam Peters has a vision for this guy, and Dan Quinn and the coaching staff have a vision for the guy as well.
yeah, and like the whole Luther Burden thing that Tim brought up. I think it was very telling in Adam Peters' joint press conference with Lance Newmark yesterday, saying when you hear about these off the field concerns for players, you got to be careful where you're hearing it from. And he said our scouts do a very good job of really digging in deep to find out that info, which is music to all of our ears. We don't want to go about this in a Bruce Allen type way where we're relying on Daniel Kelly for our draft info. Like we're really doing some investigating, right? No disrespect to Daniel Kelly. He's a man of Christ, and I
No,
respect him for that.
that was
But
funny.
I understand. I poo-pooed it, the Nick Worry one more so, just because of some of the things I saw on film that I uploaded. I was like, look, man, there's some people talking crazy saying he's a free safety and stuff. Like, he's not. He's box. He's going to be put on tight ends, and if you have him sitting at free, he better stay above all routes. As soon as a route gets behind him, that's murder she wrote. It's done. It's a wrap at that point. The fat lady has sung, and you've given up 6. But like, I love the idea of what it could bring with like a Cam Chancellor-esque type of thing, but he's not the same player as Cam, to be perfectly honest with you. And I think it's like Cam, like we've talked about this before, like what player kind of replicates what Sean Taylor did, and it is Cam Chancellor and what he was able to do. It's not the same level, of course, not even close, but it's very hard to kind of do that. But like with Cam, that bar is set high, and so Nick Worry, I feel like a lot of the fan base is gravitating towards that. But I'm very excited about where this is going to go, of course. I'm kind of nervous about it. I'm really hoping that we go defensive end. We're able to get some speed rush. I know there's a lot of teams that need speed rush and edge guys.
What's one thing that's hasn't been talked about that could play out? Say like all the edge guys that they have grouped in, they're like, hey, we really wanted these guys. We cannot leave the first round without, like, I know they're not thinking that, but like, we really wanted this dude, da 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 da. Who's to say that they don't hit up Cincinnati and be like, hey, the guys that we wanted at edge, we don't really have a guy that
it's entirely possible.
We see at 61 that can really come in, or in the third round, whatever it may be, if they don't trade back from 61 or whatever it is. We don't see a guy that left on our board that can come in and be the dude that we need in our defense. Who's to say they don't call up Cincinnati or a random team that we're not even thinking of because they pulled the Laramie Tunsil trade out of their ass as well? So who's to say they don't call up a team and get a veteran edge for 29? TJ Watt. I know he's kind of disgruntled with the Pittsburgh Steelers about a contract situation. So who knows? That could be on the table as well. No one's really talking about that. I don't think that's happening. That's like a 2% chance, I would probably say. But Adam Peters is a magician when it comes to this type of stuff, and everything's been hush-hush over there, so you never know.
Yeah, and I think the one big takeaway, like a lot of it that's said at these press conferences, especially before the draft, is a bunch of fluff because they don't want to tip anything off. But
Unless you're Jerry Jones and you say, we got two big trades in the works, post-draft or pre-draft, we're going to tell you.
But I will say that the one tip-off that I got was from Adam Peters talking about saying, well, if a player like Abdul Carter fell to 27, you do it. When the question that comes to my mind as soon as I hear that is, well, why didn't he use Ashton Genty? Why didn't he use a Matthew Golden? Right? And I think that is what I was really pressing on to say. As much as what they've added at D end, I think it is very much in their interest of getting that kind of D end, of getting that kind of speed rush and that rusher. And I thought that was very evident by what he was saying. So as much as everyone was talking about Travion Henderson and everything like that, I really think that they're looking at, as much as they are not basing anything off need, I think they're putting edge above first and foremost. Just saying.
Where's Landon Jackson
don't shoot me
right now? Like top of the second?
Who, Landon Jackson? The middle of the second, early third.
That's what I thought.
I call him the Silver Surfer. He has alopecia, which you don't grow hair, right? That's alopecia, right? Yeah. Like that's what he's got. But
or you can grow hair, but it's like a bunch of bald spots. So a lot of them just shave it all off.
Oh yeah, like no eyebrows or anything. Like it was crazy when I saw his picture. No disrespect to him at all. I was just saying I was blown away by that.
I know he kind of takes you back when you take his helmet off. You're like, oh.
Well, because like when I watch his film, I was like, oh, is this a white guy? And then I pulled it up and I was like, oh, it's not. But with him at Arkansas, and I have a lot of respect for him for staying at Arkansas, because now the whole thing is everyone just leaves for better situations. And at Arkansas, he was kind of used as that 3-4 kind of interior D end, where he was kind of put in between the guard and tackle, and he wasn't really put on that island on the edge where he could really work these defensive tackles and showing you. And I definitely think that he's somebody that you almost get the vibe of like Max Crosby, in the sense where Max Crosby coming out wasn't Max Crosby, but once he got put in that pro situation of being out on the outside, it really blossomed from there. And I think that's somebody that you could feel very comfortable with. He's very good at. There was one play in particular that he does where he's able to get penetration on a run play. It is a wide run to the left, and he's the only guy on their entire D line that has his assignment in the backfield. Like he's pushing them back, and you could see the depth there. And so with Landon, I think that that's somebody, like, I would love to be able to go with, like, Braden Swinson. And if you are going to wait for D-end, Braden Swinson, Antoine Powell-Ryland, I can't say their names enough. But even a guy like Josiah Stewart, I think that Josiah Stewart from Michigan is a guy that actually could play linebacker at times. He is incredibly athletic, but he is a force in the rush game. Very good at setting the edge, very powerful, has a strong bull rush. And I think Mikey.
The only thing is he's a little undersized, but he doesn't play like it.
Yeah, and like that's what I mean by being able to come back and play linebacker at times, being that kind of multiple defense. You know what they like to bring up Frankie Louvu. Right. Maybe you could drop Josiah Stewart. But they're like, I feel really good about this edge class, and that's where I divulge a lot of time into it. David Walker, you got to bring into the equation as well. What you'll notice with PFF is guys that have limited snaps or play for a smaller school are generally graded higher than the guys with more snaps that play at power schools. And I think that obviously goes a lot into the competition as well. But you always have to take that with a grain of salt. But I think David Walker is another name that you could feel really good about. When Mike Reed texted our group chat a couple weeks ago, it's like, Kyle, what's some of your favorite edge guys? I was like, dude, I'm pitching a tent right now that you just asked me that, because I have a whole list for you ready to go. Ashton Giolletti from Louisville is another one of those, like Jared Ivey, thicker kind of edge rusher, very strong. He's disruptive. He brings a lot of chaos. Very good at setting the edge with his kind of mass and his weight. Another guy I would absolutely love as well if you are going to wait. But there's a lot of edge guys in this class that you could feel comfortable with. But in particular, I think Braden Swinson hasn't been unlocked yet. And I think in this staff, if you're looking for that rotational, go get me a sack guy. I think Braden Swinson, Antoine Powell-Ryland, Mike Green, Donovan Ezuruku, they all fit the bill. Josiah Stewart as well. All right, everybody. Thank you for this episode, for tuning in. I know we only have about a day, so you guys probably have about 24 hours. Actually, no, 29 hours in order to digest this before things get chaotic. But I hope you enjoy the draft. We'll see you again on Sunday. I'm Kyle.
I am Hall.
And we'll see you guys again on Sunday. Be safe. If you made it this far, you're a frickin' champion. Washington football. Woo!
Peace.
What's up, everyone? This is Kyle from the Burgundy Zone. We are releasing our own merch to support the show. If you want to rock the Burgundy Zone logo or you want to see Reed's face on your shirt, we got it. We're starting with t-shirts, hoodies, and zip-up. So if you're a fan of the show, make sure you snag one before they are gone. Check out the link in our bio on Instagram, or you can find the link in the description of the video. Thanks again for all your support. Until next time.